Recent ceasefire talks offered a brief moment of hope. These discussions occurred in Doha, Qatar. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff proposed a 60-day truce. Hamas initially agreed, but denials soon followed. A U.S. official refuted Hamas's claim of an agreement. The situation remains complex and fraught with tension. The human cost of this protracted conflict continues its relentless and tragic climb. On a single day, Monday, May 26, 2025, Israeli attacks reportedly killed at least 81 people across Gaza. Disturbingly, many of those who lost their lives in these strikes were children. The attacks were widespread, hitting various parts of the densely populated Gaza Strip. The cumulative casualty figures paint an even more horrifying picture of the conflict's scale. Since March 18, 2025 alone, medical sources report that at least 3,822 Palestinians have been killed. The overall death toll since the significant escalation of hostilities has now reached a staggering 53,977. In addition to these fatalities, a further 122,966 individuals have been wounded. The World Health Organization, WHO, has issued repeated warnings about the collapsing healthcare system. Essential medicines are now almost entirely depleted in Gaza's struggling hospitals. The ongoing blockade has systematically pushed Gaza's civilian population to the very brink of famine. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has consistently maintained a firm and unyielding stance throughout this conflict. During a Jerusalem Day celebration, he vowed to keep Jerusalem united and entirely under full Israeli sovereignty. He also promised to secure the safe return of all 58 Israeli captives. Beyond these assertions, Netanyahu has clearly articulated new red lines for any potential future agreement. These conditions include the complete return of all Israeli captives, the full demilitarization of Hamas, and the exile of Hamas leaders from Gaza. Hamas, conversely, has presented its own conditions for any cessation of hostilities. The militant group has indicated a potential willingness to release its remaining Israeli captives, contingent upon achieving a permanent ceasefire. Hamas also proposes a significant shift in governance, suggesting it would cede control of the Gaza Strip to an interim governing body. Despite these proposals, Hamas remains resolute on several fundamental points. The group opposes any forced displacement or expulsion of Palestinians from their homes in Gaza. They also refuse to lay down their arms completely as part of any deal. These core positions are in direct conflict with Netanyahu's demands. The international community continues to watch the escalating conflict in Gaza with growing alarm. However, alongside expressions of concern, there is mounting criticism directed at Western governments. Professor Saul Takahashi argues that despite tough rhetoric, tangible actions from these governments are lacking. He calls for more concrete measures such as arms embargoes and ceasing preferential trade agreements with Israel. Some nations have taken tentative steps in response to the crisis. The United Kingdom, for example, suspended its ongoing free trade agreement talks with Israel. Meanwhile, the European Union is reviewing its preferential trade agreement with Israel. The humanitarian aid situation in Gaza remains critical, despite some international efforts to provide relief. A new aid delivery network has recently commenced operations backed by both Israel and the United States. However, this aid system has faced widespread condemnation from various humanitarian organizations. Public opinion within the United States appears to be undergoing a noticeable shift. A survey conducted in March 2025 by the Pew Research Center indicates fewer Americans now consider the Israel-Hamas war to be personally important to them. The current situation in Gaza is one of profound uncertainty and deep despair. The most recent rounds of ceasefire negotiations have become mired in confusion. There have been conflicting reports and outright denials issued by the key parties involved. This atmosphere of distrust makes any prospect of an immediate breakthrough seem unlikely. Meanwhile, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues its downward spiral. Casualty figures tragically rise with each passing day. The comprehensive blockade continues to strangle the local economy and cripple essential public services. Hospitals, overwhelmed and undersupplied, are struggling to cope with the influx of wounded. The general population faces the imminent threats of starvation and disease. The key political leaders on both sides remain entrenched in their positions. International pressure has not yet proven decisive enough to alter the fundamental dynamics of the conflict. the most immediate priority must be to alleviate the immense humanitarian suffering endured by the people of Gaza. Gap 2S. In the face of such overwhelming adversity, it's easy to feel powerless. But even in the darkest times, there are ways we can help. As global citizens, we have a responsibility to stay informed and to advocate for peace and humanitarian aid. By supporting organizations that provide relief on the ground, we can make a tangible difference in the lives of those suffering. Gap 2S. Your voice matters. Reach out to your local representatives and demand action. Share credible information on social media to raise awareness. Every small step counts when it comes to fostering peace and alleviating human suffering. Gap 2S, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates on this evolving situation. Together we can make a difference.